Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Entity Frost, and in this video I want to explain why I think 2.6 Hog actually requires skill. Now, if you've been playing this game for a while, you've probably heard from people that say like, oh, 2.6 Hog is just a no skill deck, like it's literally, there's no skill involved and you can literally just spam cards at the bridge and it's gonna work out. Now, anyone who says that, I'm gonna be honest, they're just coping. Like, if you actually say that, you're probably just coping, because in my experience, 2.6 Hog is actually one of the most skilled decks in the game because of its very little margin for error. Like, for example, if you're playing 2.6 Hog and you make a simple mistake that you think is like normal, but that mistake ends up costing you the game, right? For example, if you play against Golem Beatdown, if you just mistime your cannon placement, or you misplace it by one tile, you're not going to kite the golem. And in fact, if you place it too high, you're not going to get your other tower to hit the golem. And so that's one of the examples that you can make a simple mistake and actually cost you the game. Another example is when you play Musketeer and it's just a bad placement and it just lets them snipe it with Magic Archer or something. The only defensive cards in 2.6 Hog really is just your Musketeer and your Cannon. That's all you have for defense. And so if your only defensive card is gone, if they lightning it or something, or play Hero Mega Minion to snipe it, then you don't really have anything else to defend their pushes, which is very tough if you're playing high trophies. If you're mid ladder, or you're an intermediate player or something, it's not gonna matter much, because your opponents can't actually punish you for not having the best placement or interaction. Because let's be honest, if you're a beginner, most players you face against, they're not gonna understand every single detail on 2.6 Hog and how to counter your Hog Rider. Most likely, if you play Hog Rider at the bridge, you're just gonna get a hit because they don't know what to do, right? But if you play high ladder, if you have any experience playing high ladder, you probably know that 2.6 Hog is not actually that easy to play, because a lot of the times your opponent knows what to do. They know how to counter your Hog Rider. They know how to outcycle your Musketeer or take down your Cannon. They know how to do those things. And so in those cases, it actually becomes very hard for you to play 2.6 Hog. Now, that being said, if you know how to play properly, you can still win the game, because at the end of the day, Hog Rider is a very strong card, and the strategy that you use with 2.6 Hog is very nuanced, and it's very unique. You don't really see many other decks having such a subtle or sort of straightforward, not straightforward, hard sort of strategy. For example, if you're playing Mega Knight, pretty much against every matchup you can just drop Mega Knight on whatever they play, right? If they play Royal Hogs, you just drop Mega Knight. If they play Witch, you can just drop Mega Knight. If they play Night Witch, you can still drop Mega Knight. But with 2.6 Hog, it's not really that simple. You can't just play one card and expect to counter everything. You really have to understand the matchup and understand the interactions, because the only cards you have to defend, like we said before, is Musketeer and Cannon. But apart from that, you have your small cards like Ice Golem and Ice Spirit and Skeletons, and these cards don't really do much damage, but they do require a very solid understanding of card interactions. For example, you need to understand how to counter, for example, Hunter with Ice Spirit. And you need to understand how to counter Musketeer with Skeletons. You need to understand the timing and the placement and everything. And if you don't understand that, then it just becomes very hard to actually play 2.6 Hog, because a lot of these matchups you're gonna have to really understand how to optimize your elixir and like not over defend or under defend. It's a very like hard matchup to play if your opponent is good at actually playing against 2.6 Hog, which not many people are, to be honest. But as you go higher into like Royal Champion or like Ultimate Champion, then it's going to be pretty hard to actually play 2.6 Hog, because most likely your opponents have already faced some sort of 2.6 Hog player and they already know like how to counter your Hog Rider or like how to break through your defense, which is fine if you know how to like outcycle their counters, but it just becomes pretty hard at the top level to play 2.6 Hog. Now, the people who say that 2.6 Hog doesn't require any skill, those people honestly, like, no offense, they're probably like mid-ladder or something, or like they're just like coping because they lost to 2.6 Hog like 5 times in a row. But if you really think about it, 2.6 Hog, because it's such a cheap cycle and the cards are so like skill dependent. For example, you can't just drop Ice Golem anywhere or like play skeletons anywhere. It's not going to work like that. You actually have to like understand the interactions and actually like understand how your cards interact with each other. And so against high level players, they understand that, and that's why like you can't just spam Hog Rider bridge, because they might play like cannon at the perfect placement, or like for example you see that Ice Golem, if you just like miss one tile, you pretty much just let your opponent get damage, and in some cases that might actually cost you the game, because at the high level it's actually pretty hard to get damage, and you need to really like not let your opponent take damage on your tower, because they can usually defend what you play, and so you need to be able to defend what they play. And then at the end, usually it's just like it just goes into tiebreaker, and whoever has the most damage wins the game. Like usually that's how all the games go at the high level, like Ultimate Champion or whatever. And so as you can see, like just one small mistake in 2.6 Hog is enough to cost you the game. But that's not true for like Golden Beatdown or like Mega Knight or something, because Mega Knight is such a like, it's a card that you can just drop onto anything, and so you don't really need to think about anything. And same for Golem, right? If you just get one Golem push that's successful, if you just get one Golem connection, you pretty much win the game, unless you just you can't defend whatever they play next. But usually if you're playing Golem and you just get one connection on the tower, you pretty much win the game, especially at the high level, and like you actually know how to counter like the rest of the cards. You pretty much will win the game. But with Hog Rider, with 2.6 Hog, even if you get like one Hog Rider connection, it's not really enough, because your opponent can like if your opponent is playing P.E.K.K.A bridge spam for example, if they just overwhelm you with like spamming cards at the bridge and you can't defend it, then it just very quickly snowballs into them actually winning the game, because you don't have anything, like you pretty much don't have that surprise factor that P.E.K.K.A bridge spam has in like overwhelming you with a push. Like the most you can do is like Hog Rider Ice Golem, but like what's that gonna do? They can just like rocket or something, or like tornado. And so it's actually not that simple to get consistent damage with 2.6 Hog. It's not that simple to just like sack some damage and then take the tower with like Hog Rider, because most of the times it's not actually enough to take the tower, and you're gonna have to like consistently cycle back to Hog Rider, get damage, and like spell cycle them with like log chip damage and all that stuff. And so it's not actually that simple to get to just like one consistent push that will just take the tower down in one go. And even for this matchup, like against Goblin Drill, you can see like just how hard it is to get damage. it really is just like sometimes you can't really do anything because your opponent just knows how to counter your Hog Rider and you don't really have anything else to do. And so that's why I think 2.6 Hog actually requires skill. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you think 2.6 Hog requires skill, or like what do you think is the most skilled deck in Clash Royale. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.